Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Philadelphia 76ers, who are the second best team in this Eastern Conference by a mile when Joel Embiid is healthy. And that's just what they are. So now, if Giannis isn't available, the Bucks would be dogs in the series.
He ain't sleeping on that air mattress anymore. He's got a regular king-size bed, a posturepedic, whatever they call it, a Sealy's, whatever they do, those things. He ready to roll. Denominating tonight.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back. Hour number 3. Ferrall coast to coast on a Monday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Big final hour. We've got Horrow coming up on a Monday. The great Rick Horrow. We have Adam Caplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider, as we are just a few days away from the NFL draft Thursday night in Detroit. And the rumors, they are a-flying. All the smoke being sent out into the atmosphere to try to get everybody off the scent for who's going to go where, especially in that top 5 coming up. But we have baseball tonight as well. We have to get through the big baseball card. But before we get there, Cam, we do have to finish the hockey for tonight. And we have 2 series that haven't started yet. We're playing a couple game 2s early in the night in the East, but we have a couple game 1s in the Western Conference as well, including in Dallas, where the Stars, who are the top team in the West this year, and what a prize they get. The defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, who transform into a different team when the playoffs start because they get all their guys back off long-term IR who have really been healthy for weeks, specifically Captain Mark Stone, who will be back in the lineup tonight for Vegas. Minus 135, Cam, for Dallas at home, plus $1.15 for the Knights. 5.5 is the total. This is such a tough series. This is such a tough game. This is really difficult. I think both these teams are very good. I liked Dallas to go very far in this playoff, and I hated seeing that they drew this team as their first assignment.
It's the worst too, Carver. Yeah, I put it in with the futures, and then I'm like, oh great, you get Vegas, and now Mark Stone's coming back healthy. It's like Vegas are like a WWE team. They just you know what I mean, every trick in the book. But anyway, whatever. We're taking the Dallas Stars tonight at home. It's going to be a close game, maybe going to overtime, but I think they'll find a way to get it done. Ottinger hasn't even been that good, but one thing I know, Vegas, when they won that Stanley Cup, Hill stood on his head. I don't think they can get that type of goaltending back-to-back years. I'm going to take the Dallas Stars. I think they're a little bit deeper, a veteran group. Give me Dallas, but it should be a great game and a series.
I'm going to go with Dallas here in game as well, Cam, and I will throw this in for you as well as a little cherry on top. We always talk about guys who raise their game in the playoffs, guys who playoff performers. Well, Joe Pavelski is one of those guys.
I love him.
Dallas always scores big goals. plus 230 tonight. I'm going to play him on the regular here in these playoffs as long as Dallas is around. I played a prop for him, Cam, to score 3+ goals in the series at a pretty good price as well. So we're in on Pavelski tonight to kick things off for Dallas in game number 1 against Vegas. The other game number 1, which has the very late night start, Cam, I believe that one's going 10:30 just after 10 o'clock East for LA and Edmonton. Of course, these teams have played each other the last couple years in the playoffs. Oilers beat them in 6 a year ago. They're minus 175 in the first game, plus $1.45 for the Kings. Flat 6 the total here tonight.
Well, I don't like the juice, but I just think Edmonton is going to own LA in this series. I know LA's tough, but just their goaltending, can you really trust it? Edmonton actually has a really nice draw carver. Like, you wish you had their draw. I think they can take care of business against the Kings. Their path has never been better. If they don't do anything this year, it's like, when are you going to do it? It's been gift wrapped. Give me Edmonton. I'll take them in a parlay. I'll lay 1.5 with them tonight too. I take the over.
They should, at a minimum, Cam, and I know you say at a minimum, with the way they've played since they fired the coach, they should get to the Western Conference Final.
Agreed.
They just should. I mean, all the other heavies are all on the top side of the bracket.
Yep.
Dallas, Vegas, Colorado, Winnipeg. They don't have to see any of them until the West Finals. They have to navigate L.A., Vancouver, and Nashville. They're better than those 3 teams. I know Vancouver beat them up in the regular season, but playoffs, with how many playoff games they played the last 4 years, they should be able to get through that, Cam. And it'll be excuse time for them because they always have them because their goaltending stinks and they have no diva. They need to get through at least minimum the first 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's for sure. So there you go, Cam. That is the hockey for tonight. We love the Stanley Cup playoffs here on Coast to Coast. Okay, how about the baseball now for you, Cam? We already told you the Yankees lost this afternoon to the A's at the stadium, 2-0. The Zach Gelof homer in the 9th did them in. They wasted another good performance by Carlos Rodon. Red Sox beat the Pirates yesterday. In fact, Cam, the Red Sox swept the Pirates in Pittsburgh. The Red Sox are 10-3 on the road this year. And they've lost almost every game at Fenway when they had their homestand. So they've been awful at home, and they've been great on the road to kick things off. The Phillies have had a really good start to the year, and they continued that yesterday, beating up on the White Sox, who are just pathetic. You look at the White Sox now, Cam, 3-18 so far this year. 3-18 in baseball. That's hard to do. That's very hard to do.
It really is. I was going to say, who's the worst team, Oakland or Colorado? Well, White Sox.
No.
That's the thing. They're the worst team.
Now, Colorado's really bad too. Colorado's really bad also. They're 5-17, but 3-18's tough. The Phillies swept them over the weekend. Kyle Schwarber, we told you when he gets hot, and he continued it throughout this weekend, hitting another long home run on NBC Sports Philadelphia yesterday against the White Sox. Oh, there it is, Cam. No, there it is. Go ahead.
Kyle Schwarber launches one to deep right field toward the pole. It is gone! Second deck home run for Schwarber! Oh, it's a Schwarbomb on the Fanatic's birthday. And the Phillies are on top 7-2.
7-2.
The mascot's birthday?
The Phillies. The Fanatic's birthday. They made a big thing about that in Philadelphia yesterday. Fanatic's birthday yesterday.
Treat him pretty good.
The Orioles are now 14-7 as well, so they are now percentage points ahead of the Yankees in the AL East. Me and Davis just talked about this, Cam. You could still get the Orioles for plus 200 to win the AL East. Plus 200 to win the AL East.
Insane.
And they're 14-7, and they continue to roll. They have all these kids that they've brought up, along with the kids from last year. Colton Cowser en masse and getting it done in Kansas City.
Cowser drives one out to right center field. Hit high, hit deep. Colton Cowser into the fountains. He threw one there last night. He hit one there today. Colton Cowser. That's the definition of yeeting a baseball, and it's 1-0 Baltimore.
I'm very surprised by that price. And I know it's the Yankees, Cam, and you always got to get a Yankee tax for them. They got out to such a good start, but the Orioles won the division last year. They're better than the Yankees.
The Orioles are better than the Yankees. They're better than the Blue Jays. Pretty simple concept. They're better than everybody in that division. I love the price.
Yep. The Brewers beat the Cardinals 2-0. Rockies and the Mariners did split the doubleheader after the rain the other night. Dodgers had a hard time, Cam, with the Mets this weekend. At least they did on Friday and Saturday. They did not have a hard time with them on Sunday. Ohtani said hello to them very early on Spectrum Sportsnet LA.
Smashes this ball. Forget about it. Marte doesn't even move. It's gone. 2-0 LA. The 176th of Ohtani's career. He stands alone for Japanese-born sluggers. He's passing Hideki Matsui.
There you go. Matsui. A milestone homer for him as well there yesterday, Cam. Passing Matsui. Good for him.
Good for him is right. Ever since his buddy went is doing time, things have been a little bit looser for him. But this Dodger team with their win total, man, they're not even close yet. They got to go on a heater. They got a lot of wins they need, buddy. A lot.
They're only 13 and 11.
I know.
Just a couple games over 500. They're not on pace. They're on pace for about 87 right now, or 90. They definitely need nowhere near the rest. Coast to coast, we're back on the grid right after that.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the fan, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, Coast to Coast, here on a Monday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. Every week, we have our sports business and legal insider, Rick Horrow, with us on C2C. Rick, good to see you as always. Let's get right to it because we got to get ourselves moving because we have the NFL Draft coming up on Thursday night. That's right, the months and months and months of talk and speculation and combines and rumors. It all comes to an end this Thursday night. But, Rick, I must ask you this. In Detroit this year, we have seen what this draft has done, being in Kansas City and Las Vegas and Dallas and Philly the last few years. What will it do for Detroit?
$130 million of economic impact, renovating, revitalizing a pillar of downtown, validating the Ford family decision to do the Ford Field in Detroit on Woodward Avenue, as opposed to in the parking lot at Pontiac, where they would replace the Silverdome. Incredible awareness of the city. They're talking about doing business deals and emphasizing and telegraphing Detroit as a place to do business. 1936, draft held at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Philadelphia. Jay Berwanger, University of Chicago, Heisman Trophy winner, selected in the first round by the Philadelphia Eagles to be their franchise player. But no. He said, I don't want to play for the Eagles. I am going to start a career as a foam rubber salesman. So there. How's that for an answer?
That's a pretty good one, actually, for an answer. I like that. I like, Rick, that they kind of move it around now. I know it was such a staple at Radio City Music Hall, and it was always. I think it's cool that they've taken it to this next level. Now, once they had it in Vegas, they should have probably never left Vegas. But I get it. They want to give everybody else a turn.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there are a lot of people that say Vegas should be a one and done like everybody else, and then they come back in the rotation. You know, they held it in New York for 50 years, and they went from hotel to hotel. But the guy on the job when they lost the lease at Radio City Music Hall, he should be fired immediately. That's the good thing. The bad thing is who knows what happens, but that's a very, very, very bad business deal for the Rockettes. They start in Chicago for 15 and 16. Then remember, they go to Nashville, they go to Dallas, they go to Philly, they go to Goodell's basement. Then after 2020, they go to Cleveland, they go to Vegas, and go to Kansas City. Now Detroit. Next year, Green Bay. Detroit's excited because they say they get the draft before Green Bay got it, even though they're a history and tradition. And look at the draft. 3 of the 4 NFC North cities will have had the draft by the end of next year.
Wow, how about that? The Jonte Porter decision by the NBA last week, lifetime ban, a landmark moment in sports. You're right about that.
Well, look, if you're Jonte Porter and you're going to do an $80,000 parlay on your personal skills and you've only played 20 minutes in the last 4 months, not a good idea. But even more important, don't telegraph it on all social media. Even a worse idea. And a lifetime ban was probably the worst, the most the NBA could have done. If they could have done more, they'd have done more. Because the adage is you got to send a signal. And if you send a signal to Ohtani, not to say he was involved, difficult. If you send a signal to Michael Jordan, difficult. If you send a signal to the guy nobody's going to be missing, nobody cares.
And I think the thing also, Rick, that kind of has gotten lost in the cracks with this story, because I think when somebody sees that headline, they immediately go to, well, you know, you let legalize sports betting now. This is what's going to happen. On the other side of that, it was legalized sports betting that found that he was doing this, or else you would not have known that he was doing it. They sniffed it out.
Very good side of the story. The other side of the story is that when you look at the integrity risking issues that have been investigated recently, the Ohtani one was big, but I think they separated the interpreter from Ohtani. But all of the other ones, there have been a handful, not a large handful or a series of octopus hands, but a small handful. And so when you think of how large the industry has gotten over the past few years, and then you realize the smaller number of really bad actors and terrible incidents, I think the gambling industry has fared quite well.
Since I saw Caitlin Clark go first overall in the WNBA draft last Monday night, I have seen several articles and opinions and everything about her salary that she's going to make in the WNBA. Could you please expand on that, Rick?
Everybody's ignorant. Don't waste our time. Move on. Next. No, I guess I got. I guess we got to answer the question, right? And so here's the core of it for the 90th time, right? For everybody, and I know you know the answer, and most people who are smart enough to watch SportsGrid know the answer. If you're making $10 billion a year and your salary revenue share negotiated is 50-50, then your first round draft bonus or average mean salary is going to be $10.5 million. If you're only making $100 million a year and your bargain for amount is 10% of the total cut, then your salary, even as a number one draft pick, is going to be $72,000. Now, is it right? No, but is it mathematically correct? And what's going to happen now, because of all of the uninformed asking this question, she is going to single-handedly talk about changing the revenue split. She also is going to bring more revenue into the league itself. And by the way, for her, Nike just is putting out some signature shoes. So let's not hold a bake sale for Caitlin Clark.
I was going to say 8 figures from Nike.
Yeah.
That helps when you go ahead
helps.
and you do that. We will, tomorrow night, when you are with me on Carver and Lisi, we will get into a more wide-ranging discussion about really serious things like the NHL playoffs finally starting, which me and you love. How many times you're going to go to the Panther Lightning games in this series. You could probably 3 games. You have 3 games lined up for the Panthers
3 or
and
4.
the Lightning.
Right, 3, and if they go 4, I'll go 4. And by the way, I've got one comment as you blow yourself out and we go to the next segment. Think of what would have happened if Caitlin Clark was a centipede. Look how large the deal would have been. What?
No doubt. Rick Horrow, our sports business and legal insider here on Coast to Coast. We're back right after this.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the fan, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Are back for Coast to Coast here on a Monday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. BetMGM continues to do it. How about this? A first bet offer of $1,500. What do we got to do here? How about download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. That is BetMGM's $1,500 first bet offer. All right, Cam, let's get to the baseball for tonight because we do have ourselves a pretty good slate to go through of night games, and we will start in Pittsburgh, where the Pirates, of course, are coming off a bad weekend. They got swept at home by the Red Sox, as we mentioned. They have the Brewers coming into town tonight. You get Joe Ross against Jared Jones for this one. The Buccos are minus 145 plus $1.20 for the Brew Crew. 7.5 is the total here.
I think that line tells you something. It's like, the Bucks are cold, but 145, it almost feels like a let's bet Milwaukee type of line there, Carver, and I'm not falling for it. I think Pittsburgh gets off the schneid tonight, wins the game. I don't really like the juice, but I can find a dance partner to turn this into plus money.
Yeah, I think that we could do that as well. I kind of like the over tonight, Cam, in that game. Over 7.5 at even money. I think that Jones and Ross could both get touched up a little bit. Philadelphia is in Cincinnati against the Reds this evening to open up a series. Hunter Green and Ranger Danger Suarez. This guy's been outstanding, Cam. 3-0 with a 1.75 for the Phils. Right now, we go back up, minus 110. Pick them here, Cam. Both ways, minus 110. And an 8.5 total. Give me Ranger Danger.
You know what? I agree. Haven't the Phillies won 6 in a row and the Reds 3? So these teams 9 wins combined, I think, in the last little while. But hot teams. I like Ranger Danger, too. I'd hate to say this. Maybe leaning under with the way the pitchers have been going in this spot. But, yeah, I think Suarez is good. Both teams very, very playing good baseball right now. But I lean Phils.
I lean Phillies as well. I'm going to play Ranger Danger. Another pitcher that's out to a great start is Tariq Skubal from the Tigers, who's 2-0 with a 2-2. He's in the Trop tonight against the Rays. Zach Littell is going to be going for them. Tigers minus 115, Rays minus 105, 7.5 the total at the Trop. I'm going to take Skubal, Cam, tonight.
Me
against
too.
The Rays.
Me too. I don't care if the Rays are at home. Skubal's the real deal, and I know a lot of people, he was a trendy pick coming in for Cy Young and stuff, but he's awesome. Skubal absolutely mows guys down. I like the Tigers in this spot. Give me Skubal and Detroit.
The Marlins are in Atlanta against the Braves. Of course, the Braves took 2 out of 3 from them a couple weekends ago. Down in Miami, you get Ryan Weathers against Bryce Elder tonight. Elder making his first start of the year after starting the year in AAA. Made the All-Star team last year, was miserable in the second half. Started the year downstairs. Now he's back up with all the injuries to the rotation. Minus 210 for Atlanta, plus $1.70 for the Fish. 9.5 the big total tonight. Up, and away, Cam.
Let's go.
Over.
Stormy Weathers and the Elder Statesman. Yep, I see runs. Over with Atlanta, please. That's the way we're going to roll with this game.
With Atlanta. The 3-18 White Sox, who we've discussed before, are in Minnesota. And the Twins haven't been good either. They were the favorites to win the AL Central before the season started. They're out to a 7-13 start. They will have Chris Paddock tonight going up against Jonathan Cannon for the White Sox. You're going to need to fire the Cannon. They're plus 165. Minus 2 bills for Paddock and the Twins, and an 8.5 here as well. I mean, are the White Sox now, Cam, they're kind of in that Rocky and A territory where you just play the run line against them every day? You just play the run line against them every day? Just go after them that way?
I wish the Twins weren't at home because I prefer the run line with the visiting team, right, with more at bats. But I don't know. The White Sox are that bad. Even if the game is close, we can get into the bullpen, and then it's trouble for them. So Minnesota, yes, by multiple runs.
We have a few more, Cam, that we will have to do later this hour. We'll get Adam Caplan in next. We'll talk about the drafts coming up on Thursday night. And then, Cam, we will finish all the baseball. We have a few other late-night games, including the Orioles, who are in Anaheim tonight to face Detmer. The Mets are in San Francisco against the Giants. So we will get all of that in later on. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio, coast to coast. We're back right after this.
people that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience. Because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah. The fan that only watches what's hot, the fan, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing, they're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast here on a Monday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. Of course, Adam Caplan is our SportsGrid NFL insider. As we get ready, it's draft week. Thursday night in Detroit, the NFL draft finally upon us. Adam, before we get to some stuff with that, it's great to see you as always. We have to start with a trade earlier today in the NFL. And it is finally over for Zach Wilson with the Jets in the New York area. It has finally ended.
Yeah, and look, they did all they could. They tried to move him for the last couple of months. They actually gave him permission to seek a trade. Joe Douglas, general manager, final trade partner today in the Broncos, so they'll keep him in the AFC. And look, they look at it this way. At least they get to move up and around. They're giving up their 7th and Wilson, and we'll talk about the cash in a minute, for the Broncos' 6th-round pick this season. From the Jets' standpoint, it never worked, unfortunately. He did have that really good game against Kansas City last year, but then, of course, he had a fumble late in the game. But he never could play consistently well. By the way, it's a tough market. He didn't handle playing in that New York market, Mike. We all know that. You guys work in that market. I know a lot of people there. It's a tough market. If you fall behind, if you don't play well, they're on you. The media is on you, and it's a tough deal. He never could really handle it well. So we'll go back out west. Remember, he played at BYU. From the Jets' standpoint, look, they know what's happening here. Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. In fact, my sense is from talking to them, they feel like there's a realistic chance he'll be back for 2025. At least that's the way they feel now. They'll see how he feels once he starts playing. But right now they feel optimistic that he'll return for 25. So Tyrod Taylor will be the backup, and they're going to split the $5.5 million that's due this season. He's got a $4.4 million roster bonus and a $1.1 million salary. So each team will take on $2.75 million. And then from the Broncos' standpoint, Mike, Sean Payton, the term is hard coaching. He coaches hard. He demands discipline from his quarterbacks. You got to get rid of the football on time. The issue with Zach Wilson, Mike, was this. He played too frenetically, too fast. He never could slow down. He had a really good arm, good athleticism, but he just doesn't play with instruction, doesn't play like at a normal pace. And Sean Payton will do all that he can to do that. Right now, Jarrett Stidham, who was a 4th-round pick of the Patriots in 2019, he would be the Broncos starter if the season started today. Ben DiNucci would be their third. But this, by the way, this move does nothing for them in terms of drafting a quarterback. If they want to draft a quarterback, they can. They don't have a lot of draft picks. That's a problem, but they do have the 12th pick overall, which we'll get to in a minute. But it's just a situation to sum this up. The Jets got what they could. The fact that they actually can move up and around is something. A lot of people thought that they may wind up cutting Zach Wilson, but they didn't. And they wound up not picking up his fifth-year option. So right now, Zach Wilson is on the final year of his rookie deal.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you. I don't think that this can change anything with the Broncos in terms of this week, whether that's with that 12th pick or any of their picks in terms of looking for another quarterback to put in that room with Stidham and Wilson and DiNucci, as you just mentioned. Now, the Jets do have the 10th pick coming up on Thursday night. I've seen a lot of people who think that they are going to be the team that Brock Bowers is going to end up. But you do not feel that way, Adam. I like when people throw curveballs. Let's go.
Well, look, I wouldn't call Talith Fuaga a curveball. I mean, he's the second best offensive tackle in this draft. In fact, what I've been told is Joe Alt is the safest one in my latest mock at ProFootballNetwork.com. I've got Alt in there at number 7, and Fuaga is the second tackle off the board. I feel very, very confident in that the Jets would be looking hard at them. And remember, Joe Douglas is a smart guy. I know he didn't get it right at quarterback. He's done it right at running back, offensive line, up and down. Defense, phenomenal. He's built an incredible defense. He's got it right with Breece Hall, but he hasn't gotten right at the tackle position. They missed on Mekhi Becton. Dwayne Brown was hurt constantly. Remember, they acquired him from Seattle, and they just haven't got it right at left tackle. And Fuaga could be that guy. By the way, some teams tell me that Fuaga could play right tackle, but the bottom line is they've got to get it right for the future at left tackle. Remember, the draft is always about the future. Now, Brock Bowers, I don't doubt that there'll be a conversation here. Now, Tyler Conklin is their starter. They cut C.J. Uzomah earlier. He's what we call a Y tight end. He's an inline tight end. Eagles signed him to replace Jack Stoll for that role. But getting back to the Jets, they certainly need another tight end. They want to look at Jeremy Ruckert, or I'm told they'd like to increase his role, who's a third rounder previously. But in the end, going forward here, Joe Douglas has got to solve this offensive line problem. You got Joe Tippmann in recent drafts, and Elijah Vera Tucker, who, by the way, they have to make a decision on his fifth-year option by May 2nd. But getting Fuaga would help do that. But Brock Bowers, I get it. Extremely intriguing for a team that, by the way, needs an upgraded pass target group, no question.
They certainly do, Adam, that's for sure. All right, the Broncos, who were in that trade with him today, they are 2 picks later. They have the 12th pick in the first round. Where do you see them going right now for your mock?
Yeah, so I've got Quinyon Mitchell, who is the consensus number 1 corner for this draft. Talked to Jim Nagy today from, I was the executive director for the Senior Bowl, and Jim made a great point. The one knock on Mitchell is this, okay, doesn't play a lot of press coverage. Okay, that's the one knock on him. He's the best zone corner, off coverage corner for this draft. It's not even close. Mitchell, though, the one knock on him is not, he has not been asked to play at Toledo to play press coverage. Well, guess what? NFL teams wanted to see him do that, and he did that this Senior Bowl. I was there. He's phenomenal. Mitchell, I've got him going to the Broncos at 12. And by the way, they need a corner to start opposite Patrick Surtain. Now, if Dallas Turner, who I don't think will make it to them at 12, gets there, he certainly would be a consideration. Brock Bowers, by the way, they need help at tight end. You got to look at him for the Broncos there. But overall, when you look at it, the Broncos are in a position to get a great player in Quinyon Mitchell. And look, I get it. People look at Toledo and go, "Oh, that's a lower level of college football." It's a Division I team. Okay, it's the MAC. It may not be the greatest competition in the world, but he's a phenomenal football player. You grade the player, not the teams that played him.
Sometimes you find all-time players in that conference. Obviously, it's not as common, but we've had plenty of guys from the MAC show up in the NFL, Adam, and take care of business. Before we get to Matt Ryan, really fast, the smoke is just huge. Me and you talked at the end of last week, and as we get closer and closer to the draft here, we get more and more of the Patriots are looking for huge offers at 3. Yeah. Washington does. Jaden Daniels' camp does this. Washington's doing that. I love this, Adam. I can't wait because I think it's added a lot of – I have no idea between 2 and 5 what's going to happen in this draft on Thursday night.
I still believe it's going to be Jaden Daniels at 2. I've put him in there in my mock draft at ProFootballNetwork.com for the last 2.5 months. The reason why is simple. Talking to personnel people, he's the second best quarterback for this draft. Caleb Williams, number 1. And then really when you look at it, I get it why Elliot Wolf, who's overseeing personnel for the Patriots, said they're open for business. Because there is the thought that if they trade down, they might be able to get Drake May. So they'll look at it. And as I was telling you, Mike, when you and I spoke last week, the trade calls have happened. All 32 teams talk with each other. They get this stuff ironed out. So once they're on the clock with the 10 minutes that it's allotted in the first round, that they're not struggling to figure out where they're going to go with this pick. They have trade up scenarios and have trade down scenarios all worked out before the draft.
1 minute to go here, Adam. Matt Ryan, who didn't play last year, did a great job for CBS as an analyst, made it official today.
Yeah, first pick overall in 2008, the same draft of Joe Flacco. Look, Matt Ryan was a terrific quarterback, 14 years with the Falcons. Didn't play well for the Colts. The word around the league, Mike, was that his arm strength really deteriorated. I mean, you could just tell he was finished, and he would have been a backup if he wanted to come back. He had no chance to start, but a terrific career. Now, the debate is, and the talk is, I get it in social media, should he be a Hall of Famer? Now, I don't vote for that one in particular, the Hall of Fame. I'm not on the Hall of Fame committee, but if I did have a vote, Mike, I probably would not put him in that. He's just a notch below, to me, the Hall of Fame.
Right there, Adam, but I do agree with you. I'm a very tough grader with Hall of Fames for all of these sports, and I would just be out on Matty Ice. Adam, we will see you later in the week. Of course, you'll be part of SportsGrid's NFL draft coverage on Thursday night. We can't wait. Let's go. Adam Caplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider. We're back coast to coast right after this.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the fan, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back from Coast to Coast here on a Monday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Great job by Adam. We'll see him, of course, again Thursday night for the draft, as we will have you covered pillar to post here on SportsGrid with our NFL draft coverage. All right, Cam, I have a few other baseball games for you to close out the slate tonight, and we will start with the Blue Jays, who head to Kansas City to take on the Royals. Brady Singer for the Royals, and look who it is, Kikuchi on the mound for Toronto. Your boy Kikuchi
I like
is
Kikuchi.
pitching. The Jays are minus 120. Even money for the Royals and a flat 9 the total tonight. Big total for Kikuchi game.
I got to be honest with you. Like, are you roping me in here? Kikuchi, he's been good. I'm going to take the under. And Singer, he's singing like a bird. This guy's underrated. Every time the Jays go to Kansas City, they play a lot of low-scoring games, Carver. Give me the under. And I actually hate to say it, Kansas City might be live tonight with Singer.
I got to tell you, Cam, I'm actually going to go the other way here with you. I'm taking the over, and I know that probably sounds crazy. This is like a bit of a rat line to me, Cam, honestly. These two guys have both pitched great this year. I mean, Kikuchi's got a 2-0. He's 1-1. Singer's got a 1.54. Why the hell is this total 9 with these two guys starting? Doesn't that seem a little...
sound like me, Carver? You sound like me.
Shouldn't this be like
what's going on here?
8.5? Like what?
I would have made an 8.
Jacked up to 9 right now. I'm seeing even 9.5 in some places.
Okay.
I'm also seeing. I'm going after it, Cam. I think it's a rat line. I'm going to take the over tonight with these two guys pitching.
You might be onto something, Carver.
Doesn't feel right, Cam, and it doesn't make sense. That's why I'm going with it. The Diamondbacks are in St. Louis against the Cards. We have Brandon Pfaadt against Lance Lynn. Now, this is a game that should have a 9.5 total.
Yes.
Actually, it doesn't. It's 8.5. Minus 115 for the Cards, minus 105 for the Snakes here tonight in St. Louis.
I'll take a snake to take a bite out of a cardinal. Pfaadt, can I buy a vowel, please? This guy let me down last time, but I'm going to tell you something. He better not do it again. I'd like to make my wallet fat, but hey, this guy screwed me before. I'm coming back again. That's what we do. Give me the Snakes.
Snakes tonight. I like the Snakes as well in that game. The Padres are in Colorado against the Rockies. You got Dylan Cease against one of my favorite gas cans, and that's Austin Gomber, who's going tonight for Colorado. He always brings the match with him out to the mound. Minus 185 for San Diego, plus $1.50 for the Rockies, and a 10.5 tonight. I will go up, and away with the Padres tonight. They will beat up on Gomber.
This game sounds like 13-8 to me. Yeah, Gomber, flammable it is. I'm with you. Give me the over.
Light them up. Another line that makes no sense whatsoever. The Orioles are in Anaheim against the Angels tonight. Albert Suarez against Reed Detmers.
Detmers has been awesome.
That's why, I guess that's probably why this is a pick of minus 110 both ways for the O's and the Angels with an 8.5 total. I'm sorry, Cam, though. I just feel like the Orioles are, they're constantly mispriced, right? It's like been a year and a half now, and they still haven't figured it out. They're a really good team. It's like we were talking about before with the AL East odds. They're still plus 200. It doesn't make any sense to me. And here we go. You're basically getting them at a pick 'em. I know Detmers has been good. I don't care. They're a much better baseball team than the Angels. I'll take them at that price tonight.
The Orioles are amazing. You're right, Carver. I actually, after I leave this show, that bet at plus 200 will be clicked again, and I will take them tonight. But this game could be Trap City as well, but I'm going to have to ride with the Orioles tonight.
And finally, the Mets open a series in San Francisco against the Giants. Jose Quintana and Keaton Winn are the starters here. Minus 115 for the Giants, minus 105 for the Mets with an 8.5 total. I like the over here, Cam. Winn hasn't been very good for the Giants. The Mets have actually been scoring some runs in the past week and a half. I'm going to side with the Mets with the minus 105 and the over tonight in San Francisco.
Agree with you on both sides. I think the Mets, and I love taking teams coming off blowouts. They played the Dodgers well and then got absolutely spanked. Give me the Mets. Give me the over. Love the play, Carver.
Mets and the over. Final thing from baseball, of course, Cam, is we never want to leave without getting involved with a little tater time for tonight. The tater plays here. If you want to put it with the golf, you could do that too. Maybe Trey Turner with the Irish Bear and Rory to win at the Zurich coming up this week. However you want to play it. Trey Turner plus 300. He's got some good numbers off of Hunter Green. Manny Machado against Gas Can Gomber out in Colorado at plus 270. Austin Riley plus 375 against the Marlins. He's hit Weathers very well. You have Salvi Perez tonight against Kikuchi at plus 333. Corbin Carroll against Lance Lynn. The price just kind of, it kind of sang to me, Cam, with the plus 475. Not exactly a history play like some of those top ones are. And the last one is a big bomb chance that I'm taking with Brandon Nimmo at plus 775 against Keaton Wynn and the Giants. Wynn hasn't been that great. Nimmo's hit some homers. He's got a little bit more power than people think. Hitting lefty against the righty. I'm going to go plus 775 with Nimmo tonight as the big bomb of the night.
Finding Nimmo at almost 8-1. Oh,
yeah,
baby.
It's finding Nimmo tonight, baby.
I like that Sal Perez one, too. I like Riley. You know what? You're onto something. Carver, I think you might nail half of these things. I wouldn't be shocked if you actually went 3 out of 6.
If that happens, Cam, as you can see with those prices, that means it's going to be a very good night for us. If we can get there, I usually am good with 2, Cam. If I can get 2 of the board, I feel pretty good, and we're doing all right because the numbers are pretty. But we can go 3. We go 3. 4. Why not?
More money to bet on golf.
It's better.
Yeah, why not?
Better than 3. Well, like I said, Cam, I'll do something like tonight. Like I'll take that Salvi Perez and I'll put it with the Fitzpatrick brothers. At 25-1 at the Zurich. That's all I do the whole 2 hours with Joe is I just make the crazy golf plays with the home runs. That's it. And I stack up a card for the golf this weekend. All right, we'll come back and we will wrap this one up. We'll talk about the draft and get it out of here. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Monday. Carver High and Cam for Scotty. We're back after that.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Monday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. Scotty will be back tomorrow, and he will be here the rest of the week. So schedule, I know, a little bit different than usual here on C2C. Last week and this week, Scotty was off, went to the Little 500. He'll be back the rest of the week, and we will have all the NFL draft stuff coming up, of course, Thursday night. and we are ready to rock and roll with that, Cam. And speaking of that, I was talking to Adam about this before, and I really am kind of at the anything can happen stage, especially at the beginning on Thursday night, like 2 to 5. And maybe I'm just buying into a lot of the stories and a lot of the smoke and a lot of the nonsense. But you have the stories today, like there was one story from The Athletic that the Patriots are looking for some monumental deal to get out of the third pick, that they want to trade back, that Washington would consider J.J. McCarthy at 2, and Jaden Daniels wants to go to the Raiders. And you have all these different stories, which you typically get in the week before the draft. I got to admit, they've got me. I have no idea what's going to happen from the second pick on.
Nor do I, but I'm kind of with Lisi on the fact that the May pick, just because of the history of the North Carolina quarterbacks, like I'm kind of with Joe here. Personally, I got to tell you, Carver, like I look at Daniels and I think he's special. Like I know he played a lot of those defenses. It's SEC style, but he put up numbers against everybody. He's a little bit raw, but he's a guy that I want on my team. Like I would take him over May. I don't know what's going to happen. I like J.J. McCarthy. I know we have a difference of opinion there. I look at him from the fact that of a winner. Is he a perfect player? But look at the record. Some of these guys, like I just look at, can you win? And he was big in that final drive against Alabama when everything was on the line. He came through. I want a guy that can find a way to win a game, find a way to win and not screw it up. So that's kind of where I am after Caleb Williams. Yeah, you said it. It's all throw it up in the air, buddy. I know you can put some parlay pieces together with the Zurich, with the NFL draft. You can have a million of them.
I would like to, believe it or not, in New York. I don't have the NFL draft. They don't have it on the board in New York, Cam. No NFL draft on the board in New York, which makes it hard for me as well. It's unfortunate. It truly is. I wanted to give you this one before I left. Did you see any of the Garcia-Devin Haney fight on Saturday night about how Garcia, I'm sure you saw Garcia ran around all week acting crazy with his fight with Haney, and he was like, a plus 900 dog, and he ends up beating his ass on Saturday night, knocked him down 3 times. So I told Joe all week that Garcia was going to get destroyed in this fight. He's going to lose. He's going to get destroyed. This is the feel-good moment of the weekend, Cam. You ready? So I go to make a play on Haney right before the fight, maybe an hour or two before. I told Joe all week, I'm going to bet Garcia to get knocked down twice. That's my play. I'm going into it. I go to make the play. I accidentally bet Haney to get knocked down 3 times at 80-1. Sure enough, Haney got knocked down 3 times at 80-1. The feel-good story of the week, Cam, right there.
Oh
I blasted Joe all week about the Haney-Garcia fight, told him that he had no shot. There was no way he was going to win. I accidentally bet Haney to get knocked down 3 times on that, because I'm not going to lie again. I was out at a party, and I was trying to get the play in on Garcia, and I just accidentally hit the wrong. I thought it was weird, too, at 80, and then I looked at my card, and I went, oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm sending Joe the snapshot. Can you believe I accidentally bet this guy he's going to get creamed? Sure enough. A winner, Cam. It was a couple bucks.
Honest to God, I need more feel-good stories.
I wish it was just a Scotty Scheffler button.
Click. God, you know how many times I've done the wrong bet? It never wins. You get it at 80-1? I was so depressed after the Leaf game. Like, I shut off my phone. Usually I get texts from my buddies. I'm just like,
I can't complain, Cam, for at least months. I can't complain about anything. Falling into accidentally hitting Haney getting knocked down 3 times in that fight on Saturday night. So that was my boxing story for you from Saturday from those 2 fights. Cam, tremendous job as always. We'll see you tonight with Gabe on Sports Rage Late Night, 10 p.m. East, right here on the Grid. Great job by Smiley Kaufman, Coach Young, Davis Maddock, Rick Horrow, Adam Caplan, Mafia and the crew, cast of thousands here today on the Grid. Game Time Decisions is next. Ferrall back tomorrow. I'll see you tonight as well. Carver and Lisi, or you can hear me tonight as well. Carver and Lisi, 8 p.m. East on the radio side. Ferrall coast to coast for a Monday. Cash some tickets. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Grid.